So we've kind of talked a little bit about how Google's been evolving, kind of bring you up to speed now. I'm hoping that if you were tightly holding on to, the idea of what search engine optimization can do for you, I want you to kind of let go and realize things have started to change and you need to adjust your strategy. Just going for those old things just doesn't have the payoff that it used to. So we'll have a look at what authority content is, and it's basically that system that I developed. I used to be in the stock market education niche many years ago, probably early 2000s, and my business partner created a lot of the content for that space, and I was effectively the marketer. So I was trying to spread the word, and I tried a few different things, and I kind of discovered this method, and then for every successive business that I've run, launched, been involved in, I've basically taken the authority content method, kept chiseling it and improving it, throwing out the bits that work, putting the bits that come back in. I wanted to create a strategy that was evergreen, something that would last for years to come, because I didn't want to invest my time and effort into something that would be very short-lived. And even to this day, the application of authority content in the stock market education niche still drives me traffic, still drives me sales, and I haven't been in that space for over 10 years. I can't turn this traffic machine off. Now, I kind of stumbled into it, and there was a little bit of being in the right place at the right time, but now, with the benefit of hindsight, I'm going to kind of show you exactly what it is that I'm doing, and then you can replicate that and deploy it in your own business. So the definition that I've got in the book, and I've got some books up the back, but it's a little bit of a mouthful. I'll read it through, then we'll break it apart, and then you can cherry pick the bits to understand what authority content is. So it's the act of consistently creating and distributing helpful information and stories to gain the attention, engagement, and influence a clearly defined audience with the objective of being to identify those who would benefit from your products and services. Now, if I had my time again, I would probably make that 2 sentences. Yeah, just thought. But if we pull it apart, the bits that really stand out for me is we're looking at creating helpful information consistently. I was chatting with, I think it was Stan right at the start of the day, and he talked about one of the attendees here. Where are you? There he is. And he was talking about he created a video, and it was well polished, and it was the video that talked about his business, that sort of thing. He runs a cafe in Wollongong, and he just created one video, and it was very well polished, but didn't find he was getting that much traction with it. The real key here for authority content is you need to do it consistently. So we need to find the right balance between quantity versus quality. Because he made a beautiful looking video, but cost prohibitive to be putting out loads of that content all the time. But then if you think of the stuff Steve's doing the live type videos, he's just able to bang one out right then while you guys were all watching this, and the cost for him to do that was very small. So it's about finding the right balance between quantity versus quality, but we want to make sure it's helpful at the core. The whole purpose of putting out great content is to capture someone's attention, engage them, and then once we engage them, we can then start to influence them. And the whole idea is if someone engages in this type of content, so when Steve puts that video up and he gets engagement on Facebook, if he gets engagement on Facebook, just by the very nature of that person engaging in that content, they self-select themselves as someone who's interested in what it is that Steve has to say. So you have to be very particular with the type of content you create, because it's the bait that catches the fish. So make sure you're putting the right bait out there. So it's got to be helpful, it's got to be consistent, and we need to overcome these 3 biggest hurdles online. We need to get attention, engagement, and trust. For me, it used to be very easy to get attention because we had, SEO, and it was, a little window of opportunity. Bless you, a little window of opportunity. And now, though, attention is getting harder and harder. In fact, attention is probably the hardest part of the game now. Because the marketplace online is so noisy, the attention is so fragmented across so many different platforms, that is the hardest bit. But once you get someone's attention, that's really only step 1. We then need to engage them. It's not enough to put a very low quality piece of content out there, get someone's attention, and then they read it and go, this is rubbish, I'll make sure to never listen to what they say again. No, it's got to be high enough quality that they read it and go, that was helpful, I'll actually listen to that person again next time they've got something to say. So we need to think about getting the engagement. And then finally, if you do that long enough over a period of time, that's when you start to build trust. And then once someone trusts you, much easier to sell, changes the dynamic. And then you become a trusted advisor and you can direct them for things that can help them. So authority content, it's made up of a few different parts, and I think the key is some of the strategies that you'll hear about, or more so the tactics that you'll hear about for authority content might be familiar to you. What is unique is the way the tactics are assembled into a strategy, and then the way that the strategy all works together. Because I know business people are busy, they're on the tools. When are you going to find time and space to do this sort of stuff to market yourself well? I understand that. We work with a lot of clients in that space. So I had to think of a way to get the least possible input from the client to get the most possible output. And that's what it's about. This guy here, David Payne, he's the lead salesperson at a swimming pool manufacturer called Compass Pools. And we did authority content for this client, and just a few months after actually applying authority content, he went out to visit a prospect, got to the door and was greeted by a wife and a husband, and the wife said, "Oh, it's great to see you again," and then invited him into the house. And he just parked that in his brain and thought, "Well, I've never actually met you before. That's a little bit weird that you said it's nice to see you." And then continued having, they were sitting down in the lounge room, having this conversation, it's going on, and then she made numerous references to things that he had said in the past. And, it was nice to see you. She mentioned that at the start. It got to a point where he thought, unless I say something now, it's going to be incredibly, embarrassing for her if he brings up at the end, "Oh, we've never actually met before." So he thought, well, I'll politely ask, have we ever met before? And the wife was adamant. She's like, "Yep." And the husband joined in as well. "Yep, for sure we've met before." But he knew he had never actually met them before. And then as the meeting progressed, probably after about 40 minutes, the husband said, "I know how. We know you. You're the guy from the Compass Pools website. We've watched 2 hours of your videos before you ever stepped foot in this house. So we feel like we know you based on watching the videos." Now that's a pretty powerful place to be if someone feels like they already know you when you've never had any interaction, and it's very scalable. Again, it's all about, we have limited time in the day. You can't talk to every one of your prospects, but if we can and clone your message through video, which is very leverageable, and it's probably one of the best things that you can do to get your message out to the standard you would like consistently, because it's delivered the same way every time. That's why I think incorporating video into your marketing still is one of the biggest opportunities online. In fact, using video for everything. It really is the only way I know as a business owner to replicate and duplicate yourself. And video should be used in all parts of your business. I would be using it for staff induction, staff training, your operations manuals, introducing people to the business on the front end, using it for content, answering frequently asked questions. Like I would be using video everywhere. I'm obsessed with video. I am also a little bit biased because we run a video production company. But I find as I've matured in my business career, one thing I've noticed I do is I identify where my competitive advantage is, and then I often build a business around that to get incredibly good at it and get paid to develop our systems and processes. So early days, I set up Melbourne SEO services because that was a way for me. Search engine optimization at that point in time was our competitive advantage. We was good at it, and then I was able to develop it. Then video, I saw that as an opportunity, so we set up Melbourne Video Production. And just most recently, and it dovetails nicely with the work we're doing with Michael Gerber, is I've realised systems and processes really is so important for scaling your business. So we've developed a software as a service solution called System Hub, and that houses businesses' standard operating procedures in the cloud. Because I know if I'm selling a product, I've got to be the best example of what it is that I'm selling, and then it forces me to get really, really good at it. So that's just so you understand a little bit of my thinking, but I will not set up a business unless I can strategically see a reason for doing it. So if I look historically, for me, I saw, and you need to be thinking in your business, what is that competitive advantage? What is something that you can get really good at? And we'll talk a little bit more about that. So we ended up while video is a component of it, there's a lot more to do with authority content. But basically, we caught up with David Payne up in their offices, and we recorded a series of videos over the course of a day. We took them, we chopped them up into bits, and then we shared them out across the web. And he became a mini salesperson, a mini celebrity. There are other people who appeared in the videos as well, and those staff members, when prospects would come in, it's like they were star spotting. They're kind of like, oh, that's the girl from the video. Because, there's that feeling that if you're on video, you must be some sort of little mini celebrity. So again, it just really changed the dynamic in the business. So let's now actually break down, well, what is authority content and how exactly do we implement it? So this is probably the action side of this particular presentation. So I've broken it up into three P's. It's the present, product, and promote. And while that sounds disarmingly simple, the whole purpose of making it so simple, like you'll often find that the simple things have the most thought put in them, because really the skill in creating something simple is to know what it is to leave out. So there's quite a lot of thought that has gone into this product, present, product, and promote. So we'll go through. So first thing we need to dive into is the present component. So most people, and I found this with Melbourne SEO services, most people struggle to create a lot of content. Steve's pretty proactive, hopping up there with Facebook Live, but a lot of people, they just don't have the mind space to do that. And if they do create content, they might work with, a digital marketing company or something like that, and they might outsource that content creation overseas. And it doesn't, the further the content creation gets from the owner, the more it loses the message of what the company is actually about. And it's not even necessarily the owner, but staff. Like if it's someone outside of the business, they don't have a deep understanding of your products and services. They don't have a deep understanding of your clients and your prospects. So I think that content creation, we need to make it easy for your team and you to create content, but I believe it should come from within. We just got to figure out a way to batch that content creation, and then we can take that, repurpose it, and then share it around. Most content that a lot of businesses are putting out there, if they are putting out business content, it would be embarrassing if they knew someone actually read it. We saw that in search engine optimization land probably about 6 years ago, when SEOs were just putting out articles that looked like robots had spun them. They were chunking together different sentences, and it was a bit of gobbledygook. And if anyone actually read it, they're just going to get turned off by the business. But again, this is one of those things, letting go old strategies and now really focusing in on the quality and things that are going to have that lasting staying power. And we talked about it. Google's gotten smart now. All they really need to do is watch what users are doing. That's where the game is played right now. If they can watch the user engagement and how people are engaging with your website and your content, that'll tell them whether or not it's good or bad content. So we need to really focus on that. So authority content, it's just the sweet overlap between creating great quality content and SEOing it. Because most SEOs have it wrong. They're out there creating low quality content, and they're doing it for the sake of just creating a linking opportunity for the idea that it might help their website rank. And most content marketers have it wrong because they're just creating content and they're thinking, if I build it, they will come. And they're just putting it out there hoping that someone would find it. And we want to find that overlap between the two and get the balance between the quantity versus quality. Like I talked about with Stan, you don't want to be, every video that goes out doesn't have to be a Hollywood production. If you're only putting out one video every month or every 2 months, you're just not going to get any traction unless you're throwing money at it to amplify it. Maybe you do some pre-roll YouTube ads or you do some Facebook ads or something like that. Then you can get some traction. But if you're doing content to try and have a search engine optimization plan, then onesies and twosies aren't going to cut it. We need to be creating volume at mass. And I'd be talking, at least a few pieces of content every week, really, to get any good traction. Run with that for 6 months to 12 months. Now you'll start to build up this machine that becomes very hard to turn off. So it's the way that we do it, it all starts with, and this is probably where you need to start thinking now, you get very clear about your target market. The first step in this present stage is thinking about who is it that we would like to attract into our business. And you need to think about that person. Think about the buying cycle. Thinking about what questions are they asking just prior to them making a purchasing decision of your product or service. What's that conversation that's going on in their head? You need to put your mind into, their body, understand what's going on, and then you create content that meets them at the point in which that conversation is going on. Because you know the questions they're asking, you then create pieces of content that answer that question at the right time, and then you join in the conversation that's going on. You then demonstrate your authority and expertise on the matter, and then that helps to engage them. And then we can start to make make some offers and things like that once they start to actually trust us.